Imagine a strip of atorvastatin tablets taken to reduce cholesterol being available at 12 rupees instead of its market price of 147 rupees. Or antacid tablets available at 12 rupees instead of 90 rupees. Medicines at these price differentials are available at scores of government-run Jan Aushadhi Kendras and some pharmacy chains like Zeno, Generic Aadhar and Dawa Dost. I'm sure you would have seen or even purchased medicines from one of these stores. But pharma companies have raised a red flag. Last month, the Indian Pharmaceutical Alliance or IPA, a group of India's top 26 drug makers, wrote a letter to the Union Health Ministry. They have opposed the plans to allow Jan Aushadhi Kendras to dispense low-cost generic versions of prescription medicines. IPA has said that this move would increase similar demands by trade channels and in the absence of proper regulatory oversight could result in spurious drugs being dispensed to patients. Now this argument has irked the All India Drug Action Network or IDAN. It is a network of several NGOs working to increase drug access in the country. And they have written an open letter this week to the Health Ministry opposing what IPA has said. Today's episode of the Morning Brief delves into this debate of whether the government should push forward with its plans of providing low-cost versions of branded medicines and what are the challenges involved. To discuss these nuances, I speak to Dr. Gopal Dabade from the Drug Action Forum, a non-profit organization from Karnataka that campaigns for rational drug policy.
Medicines have to be made at affordable price. And if you want to make medicines at affordable prices, we have to sell them in generic name. This is where the drug companies objected to it. They believe that smaller companies will flood the market with low quality medicines. This is unfounded.
I also speak to Arjun Deshpande, founder of Generic Aadhar, a pharmacy chain that supplies low-cost generic versions of the branded drugs.
In just 4 years, we have expanded in 200 plus cities with 300 plus outlets across the nation. Our USP is all the medicines up to 50 to 80% lesser price.
And I speak to my colleague and ET's in-house pharma guru Vikas Dandekar on what does this debate mean.
The relevance of generic medicines cannot be overstated. The government is very sold on the idea of pushing generic, and that makes the industry quite uneasy if tomorrow the doctors start writing generic prescriptions. What will these medical reps do and what will these brands do?
It is Friday, June 21st, and from the Economic Times, I am your host Kiran Sommanshi, and this is the Morning Brief. Before delving into the question of whether India should push generic medicines, I first spoke to Vikas to take us through the basics. Vikas, how do you see this whole issue of dispensing generic medicines?
So this is again a very interesting development in the Indian pharmaceutical industry. I'll just describe what generic medicine means because it gets a little confusing. So generic medicines are those that are not promoted to doctors by pharmaceutical companies through their medical representatives. The biggest benefit of going generic for a pharmaceutical company or online or omni-channel outlet is that marketing costs are not so high as you would require for a branded generic. Last year sometime there was a government notification that spoke about generic medicines being 30 to 80% lower than the branded drugs. So obviously when a branded product is promoted to a doctor, it requires firstly the overhead cost of a medical rep. Then there is a competition within the distribution of a branded generic where the trade is given incentives for their products. So it actually piles up, and there you see the discrepancy in the price. Sometimes it even goes up to 10 times. So that's where the relevance of generic medicines cannot be overstated. And it is a very important part, especially in resource constrained setting like in India, where pricing can actually spell doom and bring bankruptcy to many people in the low income bracket. Its importance became even more prominent during the COVID times, where people were ordering online and looking for low cost options. A lot of entrepreneurs selling generic drugs actually mushroomed at that time. I again want to clarify that generic is non branded. There is again a little bit of a layering there. There are some brands also which are categorized as generic. Say, for example, a company will have two drugs coming from the same company but priced differently. So, unless the patient is absolutely aware of what the prescription is and the doctor prescribes the same combination, it becomes very difficult for a normal patient to go and see for a generic outlet or check for it in an online setup. So that is where there will be a bit of a challenge for generic medicines to become popular.
Why are doctors uncomfortable in prescribing generic medicines?
The biggest point that come up in the minds of doctors is about the safety of the patients. For decades now, we have been doing branded generics. So you are very familiar with all the top brands. At the same time, suddenly you are actually trying to implement a system which will be dramatically different from the past. So there they are saying hundreds of medicines will come into the market and we will be very wary of whether I am giving the right medicine and whether the patient will really report the right outcomes. And that's the quality aspect which has been left a bit blank, in my opinion. At the same time, the government is giving a very strong push to generic medicines, especially from central government health schemes, CGHS. They have been telling doctors, not from now. I remember from 2008-9, this has been going on that, doctors must prescribe only generic medicines.
And pharma companies are not taking it too well.
Nobody wants to disrupt a system which has been going on for so many years to suddenly change. So obviously there is a pushback from pharma companies also to go for a drastic switch. But again, the credit to these smaller enterprises which have been able to create that niche of selling generic medicines. We know about Zeno Health, we know about generic Aadhaar. There is Dawa Dost that has been doing some phenomenal work for the last few years. So it can be a massive change. Even if you really speak about the most common therapies, diabetes, cardiac complications, which requires years of prescriptions, there sometimes the estimate is that per patient, it can be savings of around 50,000 per year. So that kind of gives you estimate of how much important it will be to go for a generic prescription. The government is very, very sold on the idea of pushing generic, and that makes the industry quite uneasy. If tomorrow the doctors start writing generic prescriptions, what will these medical reps do and what will these brands do? So they are feeling threatened because of that. Now, if you have seen the deals that happened 2-3 years ago, NetMeds, Reliance, 1mg, Tata, then Sasta Sundar being taken by, I think, Flipkart. So if you really go to any of these websites, I think mostly Pharmeasy, they will give you a generic alternative, maybe for a drug which is 75 rupees, for a strip of 10, they will give you an option of 37 rupees or even 20 rupees. So I think that change is happening.
But there are quality concerns.
Yeah, that's a very, very critical point that you have drawn, Kiran. One of the notes that I remember came from Indian Medical Association when they actually opposed this generic prescription, had mentioned that less than 0.1% of the drugs manufactured in India are tested for quality. So that gives us a feeling of where exactly the whole situation stands. We know for all of us that manufacturing has been an issue in the Indian pharmaceutical industry for the last 10 years or probably more. The sector has been grappling with quality issues. So far as thousands of Indian companies are concerned, there are many loopholes there. One is about the regulatory inspections. We know that massive lapses in regulatory scrutiny in terms of Jan Aushadhi also. There have been issues of not of standard quality. There have been issues of blacklisting of companies by Jan Aushadhi's administration itself. So it's all good if you actually ensure that the products are brought in well and they comply with the standards and the procedures are maintained. And there wouldn't be a misuse or overuse. Because of this indiscriminate combinations, a lot of overuse is also being seen, which actually runs heavy on the bills for patients. So we still know that despite hundreds of combinations of medicines that have been banned, there are still those that have been in the market for a very long time. Practically, the therapeutic value of those products is still not known. So just by pill pushing, does the industry do a lot of sales as against ensuring patient safety? That's the big question.
So patients buying low-cost medicines run the risk of medicines not being efficacious.
Exactly the concern that has been raised by doctors. So there was a study about of itraconazole, which is an antifungal, which actually said not many generic drugs actually came even close to the standard drug. And that's kind of an eye-opener that if you really let go drugs into the system, you never know whether the patient is really benefiting from it or not. And so that is the biggest thing that the pharma companies have actually been bringing up, that how do you even trust these products which have been marketed without the proper assessment of those tests. Basically, there will be laws and stringent rules that have been brought up now that probably will get implemented, which actually takes away a lot of powers given to the state drug regulators. See, the top companies do have a lot of financial muscle to implement changes in the system and modernize and become compliant. The problem is with the lower end companies, which actually have hundreds of units. So there it will become very important, because in the name of medicines, we have seen a lot of counterfeit drugs also getting into the system. The supply chain itself is so leaky that, some of these life-saving drugs probably were only containing yellow or white powder. So if that is the situation, the trust of the doctors will definitely be very, very questionable from the pharma companies.
And there will always be the case of high-end medicine not being available at the generic outlets.
Oh, yeah. So, absolutely. So, all of this lumping of massive products is actually happening in categories which are of mass consumption or chronic use. Yeah, you will not find, or it probably will be a very dangerous idea if people start getting online medicines for antibiotics or anti-infectives or, the sedative drugs. So the whole boom that you probably see in generic outlets is probably in drugs which are of chronic use. These are not drugs which will be at a high end or requires kind of ICU settings. So there it will be will not make much of a dent. So the top end of the market will continue to be through patented in-licensed products, and that probably will remain the domain of large companies.
Given these challenges, I was curious to know why it is important for IDAN to push the government to promote generics. So I turned to Dr. Gopal Dabde, who is part of the IDAN network. Dr. Gopal, stores like Jan Aushadhi Kendras are already selling low-cost medicines. So what is it that the pharma companies have opposed?
We all know that generic medicines are at affordable prices. So this effort by the government of India was to bring in certain changes in the Drugs and Cosmetic Act, wherein it allows the pharmacist to convert any branded prescription into a generic. So this is what the government wanted to bring in, and this is called Schedule X of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act and Schedule H. So they wanted to bring in changes wherein the pharmacist can give an alternative drug, not the one that is prescribed by the doctor. He can give an alternative medicine which is equivalent to that of the brand that is prescribed by the doctor, so that the medicine becomes affordable to the customer. This was the objective. And this is where the drug companies objected to it. One of the argument is that the market will be flooded with a lot of NSQs, which is substandard quality medicines, lot of quality medicines. They also believe that smaller companies will flood the market with low quality medicines. Now, this is unfounded. See, if we want to have good quality medicines in our market, then we should have a robust mechanism for quality testing of medicines, which is unbiased, which is not interfered by any political party, which is independent, which is transparent, and which does regular quality testing so that the market is not flooded with substandard drugs. This is the only way that any country can have access to quality medicines.
And what was the need for IDAN to come out with an open letter? Can you please elaborate?
Yeah, you see, IDAN believes that medicines have to be made at affordable price. People should be able to buy them. People should be able to access them. It doesn't mean that people should be, driven to poverty just by purchase of medicines. And if you want to make medicines at affordable prices, we have to sell them in generic name. Now, the Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Jan Aushadhi Kendra, PMBJK, has around 9,500 kendras all over the country. So this effort was to make the generic medicines being made available at these kendras. So this is what was the agenda.
As a practicing doctor yourself, have you seen on ground the benefits of Jan Aushadhi Kendras and the pharmacies supplying low-cost medicines?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I work with an NGO by name Jagriti, through which for the last 6 years, we are running a PMBJK in my hometown, Dharwad, and we have been very successful. And most of our customers are middle class. See, we have to understand that most middle class people are retired. They have about 10,000-12,000 rupees as pension. Just imagine if they spend 4,000 or 5,000 for the medicines only. If he and his wife both are having diabetes and blood pressure, they have to spend huge amount of money for medicines only. What will they eat? So these are the real practical problems, and there is no other way but to make medicines at affordable prices to the common man. And that's what this PMBJK has done. There are issues. Right now, we have only around 12,000 PMBJKs in the country. We need more of them. And we also need supply chain to be made proper. This is another unfortunate problem with the PMBJKs. And also, there should be robust quality testing of these drugs as well.
Right. But we know that in India, drug quality testing is not adequate. We don't have enough facilities and capabilities. Now, in such a scenario, how feasible is it to allow low-cost medicines without testing them?
So the Drug Control Authority should keep a watch, should keep a track of all the drugs that are there in the market and see that such of those companies which are repeatedly making low-quality drugs should be penalized and should be put out of the market. So this exercise has to be done. There is no shortcut for that. And I think even in America, the pharmacist has a choice. He can make a suggestion to the patient that there are other generics available. So why not in India?
But tell me something from a doctor's point of view. I have seen doctors being very well versed with brands. So they write brands immediately. But do you think they're also well versed with the generic names, all of them?
When I studied medicine, we all study in generic name. And when you go to any conference or workshop or, medical doctors meeting, everybody uses generic name. But then why we should insist on brand names only when we are prescribing? And in fact, I remember there was a Hati committee which was set up in 1970s and headed by one member of the parliament, Jaisuklal Hati, where they recommended that generic medicines should be brought in phase wise and all these branded medicines should be removed in the market. But unfortunately, we didn't follow that committee report. That's a tragedy.
But how do you see the fate of the branded generic industry shaping up if as a nation we move to generics? Because according to the industry, it spends a lot on marketing the drugs, reaching out to doctors and creating awareness.
Yeah. I still want to ask one more question. What is the whole idea of drug industry? The drug industry is there to make medicines affordable to people, right? It is not there to make profit and more profit. I'm not saying drug industry should not make profit. There is nothing wrong in making profit in business, but they should be reasonable. That doesn't mean that you have to follow methods that are unethical. Why should drug companies give gifts to doctors? I want to ask, why should they take me or any group of doctors on a trip to other countries or other places? Is it the way to educate doctors? This is how I studied medicine in my medical college. No, this is not how I studied medicine. We have standard textbooks, there are standard studies, there are protocols how to test a drug. So we should look at those studies that have been done rather than looking at the drug promotion of a company. And let me tell you, most drug companies' promotion is misleading. It is false. It is not to give unbiased information to doctors. That is not their goal. The goal is to increase sales. So let us be very clear whether we want to have glamorous, misleading information or we want our doctors to have unbiased scientific source of information.
So, suppose if this move goes through and generic medicines are being prescribed by the doctors, do you see the highly specialized medicines or those under patents or in-licensed drugs also being available at low cost?
Yeah, I still agree with you. That's really a problem because many of the patented medicines are not there at PMBJK as of right now. So the government will have to relook as to how they want to make patented life-saving medicines made at affordable prices. There was a committee that was set up to look exactly into this matter, but unfortunately, nothing much moved in that direction. And as you rightly said, these drugs also should be made available. I don't know how and when this will happen, but I hope it happens.
The last mile connect of the generics drug market is a pharmacy store that dispenses the low-cost medicines to the needy. To know the intricacies at that level, I spoke to Arjun Deshpande, the 21-year-old founder of Generic Aadhaar. Now, Generic Aadhaar is a 5-year-old pharmacy chain that focuses on selling generic drugs and has secured investment from Ratan Tata himself. Arjun, what is the scale and penetration of Generic Aadhaar pharmacies?
So Generic Aadhaar, our head office is based out of Thane in Mumbai. So today, Generic Aadhaar, in just 4 years, we have expanded in 200 plus cities with 300 plus outlets across the nation. So now today, Generic Aadhaar is not just focusing on the urban cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, but with urban cities, we are focusing on the 3-tier cities because there is a huge need. Today, Generic Aadhaar is serving in the smallest part of Bihar, in Jammu, Kashmir, in Kanyakumari, and from Kutch to Arunachal Pradesh as well. So in the biggest hospital of Tripura, where the population of entire village is around 25,000, there was just one pharmacy over there, one doctor. That pharmacy have taken franchisee or have onboarded with Generic Aadhaar.
Can you elaborate on your business model? Are these your own stores?
No, from my day one, I was just 16. I was not having so much huge money to put my own store. So that time, what I did I thought to take the medicines, source the medicines directly from the same manufacturer who are manufacturing for the MNC companies, and from there to direct consumers via the retail outlets. So I converted them, saying that with Generic Aadhaar, I will help you to increase your consumer base, your profit margin, because you're just getting 5% profit margin from the MNC kind of products. So today, wherever you can see Generic Aadhaar products, so it will be from WHO GMP accredited facilities. So the machine, the cost price for me also and for any MNC companies is 10 rupees only. Because of the supply chain, the 10 rupees product, when MNC put their name on top of it, they sell the same product around 1,000 rupees. I sell the same 10 rupees product from our retail outlets at 100 rupees. So now these pharmacies who are selling the 1,000 rupees product earlier, they were just getting 5% profit margin into the products. But same in our case, in low investment, when they are selling 100 rupees product, they're getting 40% profit margin. And the consumers footfall, because of our affordable healthcare, where they were having around 100 consumer monthly, because of Generic Aadhaar, the consumer footfall have increased to around 300-400 people. Because we are unique. Our USP is all the medicines up to 50 to 80% lesser price.
Can you give me examples of medicines that are available at low cost in your stores?
So one of the important product today across India, what has been sell a lot, many senior citizens use every month. So diclofenac gel, which has been oil pain relief, and the gel, 100 rupees cost is there into the market price of the product. We sell that around just at 20 rupees. Every senior citizen is happy after taking that product. Azithromycin tablet, diclofenac, these are all very much running product. Glimepiride, atorvastatin, all these products are really going a lot across the nation of Generic Aadhaar.
Arjun, is Jan Aushadhi competition for you?
I don't see Jan Aushadhis as a competitor for us because the industry or the market or the opportunity or the problem, what I can definitely say, it's so big to reach 140 crore of people out there. If today, what I say at Generic Aadhaar, when we are having over 3,000 outlets, it's one of the biggest chain of pharmacies across India. Today also I'm saying that we are just 1%. It's 99% problem today also exists and we have to solve that. So our Prime Minister's vision is from Jan Aushadhi Generic Aadhaar is the same, that we have to reach down the last mile of the country.
And what about the online pharmacies? They also end up giving attractive discounts.
So see, basic Generic Aadhaar today, when I say about Generic Aadhaar is not just an pharma company, but it is a pharma tech company. When I say pharma tech company, to Generic Aadhaar have made all the small retailers today with our AI tech software, we bring them into a digital world. Any consumers from any kind of corner of the country who orders online to Generic Aadhaar platform, we are having our store online as well. So online pharmacies, what they do, they cut down the retailers who are really working on ground and they directly supply from the central warehouse in 48 hours. But our model, what we have done an innovation over there, from the nearest store to our fastest delivery. So that is the innovation, and I think we are competing with that online as well in the same ecosystem.
Are medicines supplied to you by Cipla and Alchems of the world or the last mile small manufacturers?
So in India, 90% of the medicines are generic itself. So this MNC companies also 70 to 80% products they do not manufacture in their own in-house manufacturing facilities. They also do the outsourcing from the third parties. So we also take from the same manufacturing facilities from this MNC companies who take from them. So all are WGMP government accredited facilities. Secondary point into this ecosystem, what we do not take the product from the straight generic wala situation because we are having our direct tie-up with the manufacturers across India. We are making our manufacturers Atmanirbhar with Generic Aadhaar products. So today I am really proud to say 450 plus Indian manufacturers are proudly associated with Generic Aadhaar today.
But in India, we have had many instances of drug quality having been compromised even when the facility is WHO GMP certified. So how do you ensure the quality of the drugs that you source?
When we take the products, we ensure every manufacturer who are running their manufacturing facilities, because we do not own any manufacturing facility. We take from the direct manufacturers who government have given the accreditation to them. But to this same situation, what we do from our side is that our team personally visit over there. We take all the products COPP, COAs, analysis, quality report for every batches, what we take on.
In that case, why has the no middleman concept not picked up?
Already it has picked up. So I'm really happy to share that today 600, I'm openly saying the number 600 plus doctors, MD, MBBS doctors have taken the store franchise of Generic Aadhaar. Today, government GR, Supreme Court also have mentioned after my meeting with Rashtrapati Madam that all the doctors have to compulsory prescribe molecule name, not any particular brand name. So now I believe this is a start of a movement and it will definitely take new heights in coming years for the humanity. Doctors are coming forward. I'm really happy for that, for supporting the consumers.
Arjun, what are your current business challenges?
I believe to reach out to the last mile is one of the biggest challenge I can say, or my task I can say, because today when I go to Kusheshwar Asthan, we are in Devghar or in Devariya, Kushinagar, or the smallest part I'm taking the name, Balasore, any kind of thing. So today there, biggest challenge is to open the store over there, and today we are in many parts we have already opened on. So I believe to reach out to the 3-tier cities is my biggest task or my mission, and what Generic Aadhaar aims to do in next 5 years down the line, to have our outlets in every nooks and cooks of the country.
Is your drug portfolio comprehensive?
Yes, it's a lot, because as I mentioned on today, Generic Aadhaar is associated with 450 plus Indian manufacturers. So they are already manufacturing the product. It is just that we have to bring under the one roof of Generic Aadhaar, and we are making that successful. So if you take any name of cancer medicines, we will make it available. It may not be available at the store level, every cancer medicines, because it is not an running product, but we have that in our stock, or we can get it arranged for any consumer at affordable price anywhere in India.
It is generally said that drugs in India are one of the cheapest in the world. Yet they are not affordable to a large majority of India's population. Making drugs affordable through promoting low-cost generic drugs becomes the obvious policy measure for the government. Pharma companies also know this, and that's why many of them sell trade generics, the low-cost versions of their branded medicines. However, a policy move to push generics has to be implemented in tandem with increasing drug testing and enforcement of good manufacturing practices. Otherwise, we are exposing patients to the risk of contamination by spurious and substandard medicines. Having differently priced medicines for different paying consumers is understood, but low cost doesn't have to be of low quality. So that's it for today. This is Kiran Somanche from the Economic Times, and you were listening all about making drugs affordable only on the Morning Brief. A special thank you to Dr. Gopal Dabde, Arjun Deshpande and Vikas Zandekar for sharing their amazing insights. This episode was produced by Neil Ghai and sound designed by Indranil Bhattacharjee. The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday to Friday on an audio streaming platform of your choice. Do tune in. Have a wonderful weekend.